Hi, my name is Jenna Rudolph, and I'll be presenting on my research, which investigated the possible benefits of maternal thiamine supplementation for enhancing alertness in infants at risk of thiamine deficiency. So here's a little bit of an introduction to the research. Thiamine, or vitamin B1, is an essential vitamin required for the breakdown of carbohydrates into energy. It also plays a role in metabolic pathways throughout the body, especially in the brain, which is keenly dependent on metabolic resources early in development. Due to a number of factors, including a cultural dependence on highly polished rice, millions of Southeast Asian children are at risk of thiamine deficiency. This in turn puts their neuro-cognitive development in peril. Our study investigates whether thiamine supplementation for Cambodian mothers protects their infants' neuro-cognitive development, specifically in the domain of social alertness. We chose to focus on social alertness because of the importance of social interaction for early brain development. Infant social alertness not only indexes neurocognitive well-being, but it also supports further neurocognitive progress. Our investigation was part of a larger, double-blind, randomized controlled trial directed by Dr. Kylie Whitfield of Mount St. Vincent University. The study followed a sample of 335 mother-infant pairs from the Kampong Thom province of Cambodia. The lactating mothers received one of 4 levels of thiamine supplementation: 0, 1.2, 2.4, or 10 milligrams per day, beginning at 2 weeks postpartum. At 2 weeks, 12 weeks, and 24 weeks, we assessed infant neurobehavioral development, in the case of this study, through the primary engagement task. The primary engagement task, or the PET for short, was designed with the goal of tapping into basic social interaction skills that emerge early in infancy. It is designed to work across cultures. The task hinges on asking mothers to elicit a smile from their infant while gradually introducing new tools. During epoch 1 of the primary engagement task, the baseline, the mother is completely looking away from her infant. At the start of epoch 2, the mother can look at her infant and use her facial expressions to elicit a smile. During epoch 3, a mother can now use her voice along with her facial expressions. In epoch 4, she can add her touch. In epoch 5, the mom begins stepping down, so she starts removing engagement tools. In 5, she removes touch, and in 6, the mother removes voice, so she's solely using her facial expressions. Behavioral coding from video subsequently determined changes in infants' alertness across the epochs of the primary engagement task. We used a state coding system from the NICU Network of Neurobehavioral Scale, a standard clinical measure to assess infant neurological status. The scale we used was called the 6-state scale, and it rates infants as either in a quiet sleep, active sleep, drowsy, quiet awake, active awake, or crying state. We had predicted that an infant's alertness would increase, then decrease, remaining higher than baseline as mothers added and removed interaction modalities. Our findings confirm this prediction, as is shown by the significant linear and quadratic trends in response across the epochs of the primary engagement task. This validated the PET. We'd also predicted that the linear and quadratic patterns would become more pronounced with increasing age. We saw that both linear and quadratic trends were apparent to all ages. There were age differences in response, however, such that an infant's alertness level increased dramatically between 2 and 12 weeks, and infants at 12 and 24 weeks showed a more pronounced linear trend in their response during the primary engagement task. Finally, we had predicted that the linear and quadratic patterns become more pronounced with the higher doses of maternal thiamine supplementation. Contrary to our prediction, the linear and quadratic trends did not become more pronounced with higher thiamine status. Thiamine supplementation dose influenced infant alertness only in epoch 1 and not in a dose-response fashion. As you can see, infants whose mother received 1.2 milligrams of thiamine showed increased levels of alertness in the first epoch of the PET in comparison to the 0 and 2.4 milligram groups. We took an alternative route to examining possible relationships between thiamine and infant state. So we looked at the relationship between milk thiamine levels and infant alertness in the PET. We saw that at 2 weeks and 4 weeks, milk thiamine levels interacted significantly with infant pattern of alertness across epochs. At 12-week, milk thiamine levels no longer show this interaction, but they did display a significant tendency to predict infant overall state. We also wanted to know the extent to which infants' pre-supplementation alertness in the PET was predictive of their end-line cognitive functioning. In order to gain this understanding, we used scores from the Mullen Scales of Early Learning, also known as the MSEL. The MCEL is a standardized performance-based developmental test that assesses 5 developmental domains, including gross motor, fine motor, visual reception, receptive language, and expressive language. Interestingly, we saw the infant EPOCH 1 state at 2 weeks predicted end-line MCEL scores at 24 weeks in the negative direction, meaning that lower infant EPOCH 1 state ratings were associated with higher end-line MCEL performance. We saw that this relationship was the strongest for the receptive language subscale, but there was also a statistically significant relationship between the infant 2-week state and the MCEL scales for the composite, the fine motor subscale, and marginally significant for the expressive language subscale. The key takeaways from my thesis or this research. 1 is the validation of the primary engagement task is a valuable new tool for probing infant responsiveness to their caregivers as they engage in mutually positive ways. Another key takeaway is that the NICU network neurobehavioral scale is a valuable long-range predictor of cognitive functioning. And finally, clarity about the precise benefits of maternal thiamine supplementation for infant social alertness awaits further investigation. Thank you for listening.